How is everybody doing? Welcome to the Trade Talks. I am, well, somewhere out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, out in the Caribbean, headed back towards Orlando. I have been in the Dominican Republic. I've been in the American or U.S. Virgin Islands. I've been to Puerto Rico. So I've been out on a cruise. As you see, if you can't tell, and I am still out on the beautiful blue ocean, and we're not at port today. We're headed back to Sunday, but man, we made it a point to get everything in place that we could do this. I'm trying to lean over here in the shade. That way I'm not right here in the bright sun. And I feel water splashing up on me every now and then. Squirt, it's about 82 degrees here today. How are you doing where you're at?
Probably sitting at about half the temperature that you are. So, it's a little bit chilly here. Not too bad, though, which we know I kind of like the cold more than the hot for sure. So, I'm adjusting well, and I know it's going to drop again this weekend a little bit more. So, always excited to see it. Prep your home, that's
uh,
for sure.
do me a favor, swing by my house sometimes today just because the house cleaner's there and she's liable to turn off the water. And I would love for you to turn it on again before it does freeze up. And then I also need to talk to you about possibly picking me up at the airport on Sunday. So, anyway, let's jump in here. Today's show is sponsored by Leak Pro. Every show we do is sponsored by Leak Pro. We think Leak Pro is the very best leak detection equipment for plumbers. And just outside of Dallas, Texas, we also have one of the most amazing training facilities for plumbers. We teach you how to find the water leaks under the slabs, underground, and we teach you how to locate those lines so you know right where to look. But the coolest thing is we also do training on sewer leak isolation, how to find those leaks, how to know exactly where they're at. That way, you're not just coming in and having to tell the customer, look, we've got to replace everything under your house. So if you want to find out more about it, go to leak-pro.com and check it out, or give Randy a call. Randy, what's that number?
Give me a call at 1-8888 Leak Pro.
Gotta love that. So let's go ahead and jump in here and talk about national news. And I love this because today we're talking for plumbing trends coming up in 2025. And there's some changes going on, aren't there?
There are, we've kind of been talking a little bit about smart neighborhoods, smart everything. Today, smart homes. This is a huge transition. More devices are coming out for your home, for your plumbing systems, for your HVAC systems, all the way across the board to turn your home into a smart home where you can control your devices anywhere you are, even when you're in the middle of an ocean like you are today. You'd
Mm-hmm.
be able to access your home to shut the water off if something happened, different things like that. And if you're in the trades, start learning more about these smart devices, the installations, how to get them connected to the internet, things like that. If you're not very familiar, do some research, do some studying, watch some videos on this. A lot of the manufacturers have simple guides to kind of walk through to get things going. Uh, and I think that's just huge. But there's also additional growth is seen in commercial sectors like the data centers, healthcare, increasing the need for some plumbing renovations. Uh, we know more and more buildings across our country are getting more outdated. Well, there's been so many advances in technologies and things that it's worth the efforts now to go back into those older buildings and bring them up to date, bring it a little more current in the systems. Smart systems for commercial and residential is kind of huge.
Yeah, and I love that you're talking about that because too, with mortgage rates, I mean, they're not as low as they've ever been. They're not as high as they've ever been, but they're still on the high side. So to me, I'm noticing that a lot more people are literally calling and talking about remodeling and upgrading and things like that. So we talked about this the other day. I haven't updated my house in 24 years. It's probably time. But I don't have the avocado green sinks and the tangerine orange and stuff like that. But I mean, it would be smarter while interest rates are high, while the mortgage rates are high, to go ahead and remodel the house. Maybe I get a loan for 50 or $100,000, completely upgrade my house and modify it, Oh, that's probably a smarter investment right now, really, is it not, Randy?
I think so, and especially because it's going to increase the value of the home that you're currently in by bringing most of those things up to date and turning it into a smart home. It's a huge selling point, especially for younger people nowadays, because they want to have that control in their hands on their device. And that's going to become a huge selling point in the future. And if your home remains outdated, it may not move on the markets. You know, it's going to be kind of a gamble either way, but I would make that investment now because I think it is the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, as plumbers, we always talk about two of the smartest things that we can do to upgrade our houses are bathrooms and kitchens. And guys, you think about this. If a lady's walking into your house and she sees a kitchen that she falls in love with, guess what? Your house is sold. I mean, she's going to look at her husband and she's not just going to look at him, she's going to say, hey, this is the one. And it's kind of like this. If you ever want to make love to me ever again the rest of your life, this is the house that I want. But a bathroom and a kitchen can do that. And the bathroom is the shower. Spend money on the shower. Invest in the rain shower head. Invest in the body sprays. Invest in stuff like that. It is huge, and it's such a wise investment because it's got a great ROI.
Oh, yeah. And if you've got a shower that you can just walk into and get a free massage while you're getting washed up, why would you not want to make that investment? You know, it's me, myself, I'm getting a little older. I would love a massage in my shower every day that I stepped into it because I had extra heads and things like that. Why not
Mhm.
make the little investments into making every day for yourself better? Also, while you're living in that home, instead of just doing the upfront cost and getting a new one that's modern and everything, invest into what you've already got. It's a smart thing to do.
Sorry, I'm trying to get resituated here. But I do. I've always thought that that is probably one of the smartest investments anybody can make when it comes to remodeling. And that's just going to be a big deal. Now, let's talk about the homeowner, or not the homeowners, the business owners for managing cost with rising material prices. Now, this is something I talk to residential service providers a lot about. Anytime you get an email from your material vendor saying, hey, look, we've got to raise prices on water heaters 20%. We got to raise prices 25%. And guys, there for a while, I was getting that email about every other week. So I want you to remember anytime you do that, you need to look at, are you passing that price on? Because if you think that you can go a whole year, if you think, look, I can raise prices once a year and be fine. And when you sit and look at it, if the price of your water heater has gone up 20% 3 times in the last 6 months, you're not making profit anymore. So, Randy, what are some things that people can look at to help them manage the cost of rising materials?
You know, something real big is like bulk purchases and talk to a bunch of your vendors. Don't just talk to one, talk to a few different ones. Because, like, back whenever I was estimating some projects, I had this one distributor that he knew prices were going up on some specific materials, tubing, specialty stainless, things like that. But he bought as much as he possibly could to stock his shelf because then he could actually sell all that at what he bought it for, not 3 months later, oh, the price is one and a half what it used to be. Well, he was still able to offer some of that lower cost material because he had already purchased it and had it in stock. So talk to a few different manufacturers because not everybody did that. So if you want to keep yourself in contact, because if you knew the right guy, guess what? You could win just about any estimate that we were throwing out at the time because I could beat everybody at the pipe price. And that pipe price being so low was a tremendous savings for us and put us in an advantage over some others.
And here's what's a good thing too is those supply houses, guys, they buy bulk like that in advance, knowing the price is fixing to get up. As long as you've got that price already negotiated, where you know that you get that set price for so long, or he tells you, hey, look, I had to buy 500 extra water heaters to get this price. And you can say, okay, you know what? I'm selling one a day. I'll go ahead and take 50. So that'll handle me for the next 2 months. And you can buy them at that discounted price, but then you go ahead, you got a choice here. You can go ahead and raise your pricing that way you're making that profit margin to help balance out what you're going to purchase on the next ones. But remember too, the vendor that is only, or the customer, the contractor that's only buying one or two water heaters at a time, they're not getting that bulk discount. So if he had to buy 500 extra water heaters, he can now mark those up at 20%. When the national pricing goes up, now he's making an extra 20% on what he invested in those. Guys, it's an investment. Invest in yourself, invest in your business, invest in social media, invest in the things that you can do to make your phone ring, to make your bottom revenue go up. But Randy, stuff like that is something everything can't do. But one thing that I always loved was having strong relationships with my vendors. So if I had Ferguson, which I worked with for years, if I had Resupply, which I work with, I knew who my supplier was. I'd talk to them. And like you said, Randy, due to those relationships, people would contact you and say, hey, look, I'm just going to let you know right now, we just got notified that prices are going up again. So now you know that this is something you need to start looking at and you need to start focusing on, because that's going to be a game changer when they come around and prices go up. You don't want to find it out just right after you ran out of your last water heater. Now you're like, okay, I need 10 more water heaters. It's like, well, the price went up 20%. And if you hadn't priced that in and you've already got estimates out, you're going to lose money on those. So make sure that you're talking to the people, you're talking to the vendors, you build great relationships with your supply house person. Every now and then swing by, take them cookies, just have Tiff's treats delivered, do something like that. It is crazy, but this is going to help you stay informed to the market trends, because I promise you, if you're taking care of them like most other contractors don't, they're going to reach out to you. They're going to make sure that you're ahead of the market trends, that you understand what's going on, because they don't want you upset. And that's just one thing I think everybody should be doing.
That's it. And just like you said, building that relationship, because guess what? Once the manufacturer knows that they're going to have to increase prices, the first person they tell is their vendors. That's
You
the
bet.
immediate person. And then we are that vendor's vendor, so we hear about it after the fact. But the higher you up on that vendor list, or the better relationship that you have with your salesperson from that vendor, that's going to keep you on that front edge. And when you're ahead of it a few months, you already know prices are increasing. You can adjust right then, like you were saying, and being ahead of those is huge.
Okay. Now let's talk safety, because the safety changes all the time. There's always, just like I tell people about plumbing, there's new tools, material, equipment, and technology coming out. There's new safety equipment coming out all the time. And we've got smart safety equipment. We've just got, different things. Matter of fact, I ordered a pair, and I know you don't like them, but I ordered a pair of aluminum safety glasses the other day. And I like it because as a plumber, I probably don't get in the same positions as a pipe fitter or a welder does. So I don't necessarily have to worry about them getting hit, bending, or anything like that. Normally, man, I can take care of a pair of safety glasses for a while. So talk a little bit about different things going on in safety and compliance, and how we need to be really looking at this.
And so, like one of the big ones that I really liked that OSHA was doing this year for compliance is PPE that actually fits the person. I've seen that on many jobs where, you've got somebody super small. We've had some guys that are young teenagers just getting into the trade. Well, young teenagers, 19. Yeah, I used to be that. Uh, but they're they're not as aware of everything, and some of them are smaller. So you give them a big vest, it's loose fitting. Well, guess what? That loose fitting thing could get hung up in something or something like that. So OSHA's made it a requirement to get PPE that actually fits the people using it, which I think is huge. And like you're talking smart technologies and things, there's safety vests that actually monitor your temperatures, things like that, to prevent overheating. And like that's huge here in Texas, especially because our summer heat, man, sometimes it gets a hold of you before you even realize it. And most of the guys that I know that have had heat exhaustion and stuff like that, that's what they were like. They were like, dude, I didn't even realize it till it was too late. But there were some signs looking back now. I quit sweating, different things. It's like, man, I should have noticed, but that's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking, I'm trying to get this job done. I'm working, da da da. But if you've got some of these smart devices that are going to trigger alarms, just like gas monitors, things like that, that's going to instantly make you stop and go, whoa, wait, nope, I need to go get water now. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to try to finish this little thing real quick. It's going to take me 3 more minutes, but guess what? Nope, that alarm went off. Let's go get water now and we'll come back to it. Things that make you aware like that, pointing that out to you, because sometimes, guys, we know we're in the trades and we get in the moment and you don't think about your safety sometimes. So having these devices that are actually monitoring your safety all the time can be a huge transition.
Okay, so with the stricter guidelines, what are the most important safety practices for plumbers to adopt, and what's the best way for them to do that?
So you want to make sure that you've got PPE available to all your employees and workers. If you're just a worker, talk to your bosses. If there's not the PPE that you need, let them know. Let them know the reason that you need it if they are unaware. Try to keep up with OSHA. OSHA is always coming up with new things because accidents happen every day. So we're constantly learning from them and trying to make better rules or guidelines. And that's what OSHA's for. So whenever they come out, try to be on top of what they're coming out with and informing us of, because they're trying to help you prevent incidents on your job sites and things like that.
Man, that's fantastic. And like, if you're a plumbing company or you're a plumber, you need to look at this. Make sure that you are doing research so you know what's going on. Get the training that you or your team needs, and do what you have to do. So let's talk about now about new construction, because one of your favorite things to do used to be retrofits. And first of all, explain to everybody what a retrofit is, because a lot of people they don't get it. They're just like, retro's old school. It's old. But what does retrofit really mean?
So realistically, it's just like you said, it's going into this old space, this existing place, and demoing out the old and putting in new modern things. Why I love it so much, it lets my creativity flow. When you
Hmm.
go into these existing spaces, here's what it is. Okay, I'm taking these three pieces of equipment out. Well, guess what? Okay, that's all the space that's in the room. So I've got to make whatever I'm bringing back in fit that space. I may have to pipe it a little different, things like that. And that's where my creativity gets to flow, because you want this thing to be a piece of artwork when you're done. So when you're actually looking at it, thinking about the layout, you try to do the layout proper, in my world, according to the piping flow is how I kind of do most of my layouts, because you want everything to flow smooth and proper and look pretty. Some people don't think that us tradespeople think about pretty. I know every one of you do, because it's your work. It's what we take pride in. And doing that's huge. I love retrofitting because you get to step in this old existing space and put something new and pretty in it.
Okay, so now let's talk about plumbers, because retrofitting is the same thing. When we come into a house and somebody wants us to remodel a bathroom, or maybe not even remodel it, maybe just upgrade their fixtures. Looking at the latest, greatest, the ultra high technology, the ultra low flow. I mean, there's toilets out there that flush zero point 0.8 gallons a minute and do a great job. So looking at things like that, it does. It makes all the difference in the world. You've got to be the guy that understands what the opportunities are, what the options are. So you start looking at it and you start knowing how to do that. And then when it comes to upgrading piping systems, are you looking at the latest, greatest stuff? And what are the codes? Are there any energy codes? Are there any new codes? Are there any addendums to the city's code that you're in that may change what you can use or how you can use it? So these are things that I look at all the time. If you want to grow in your niche or your industry, I tell people this all the time: get up every morning, study for 30 minutes to an hour for what's going on new in your world, what's going on new in your niche or your industry. And I'm telling you, if you'll do this every day for a year, by the end of the year, you will be one of the top 5 smartest people in your industry, because most other people are not doing that. So to me, that is how you grow. You keep things going and you keep things happening. But you've got to look at plumbers for you to be able to position yourself to where you can do these retrofits. That's what you need to be looking at. And then you market your expertise. And that's where a lot of people lose it, is the marketing end of it. When we teach people how to do slab leaks and leak detection at Leak Pro, we teach them about the marketing. Do you understand what words people are looking for? How does your website rank on those words? And when you talk, do you use these words? So if you're a plumbing company and your website never talks about remodeling your bathroom, chances are people aren't going to call you to get their bathroom remodeled. They're going to call somebody else. So my recommendation to every plumber and every plumbing company out there is look at the website that you have, look at the website that you're using, and then ask yourself, look, does it talk about what we've got or what we're doing? If you're using landing pages, really not a website, but if you're using stuff like this, are they set up to be found for what you need to be found for? And if there's not, it's something that I highly recommend doing. And once you learn to do that, market yourself that way, but then educate yourself that way. Whenever I went out to networking events, all I talked about was that we did slab leaks and leak detection. And if you were a real estate agent and you weren't recommending this to any buyer that you had, you were literally doing your customers wrong. And Randy, as you know, learning how to market it can really help us grow.
It really can. Like, you were just talking about the fixtures. Explain to the customer what changing out that one toilet is going to do and save them over time. If it's a family of four and it's a one bathroom, that one toilet is going to save more than a four family home with two bathrooms. And explain that to your customer. Look, this one install is going to save this much. Like one of the big notices I did moving recently is the new home has all LED light fixtures. And that has brought my bill down tremendously compared to what it used to be for electrical. And that's just some small, more modern things, not big changes at all means, but switching out those little lighting fixtures, things like that have made a huge difference. And if you can kind of market yourself and spread that to your customers, they're they're going to appreciate you for that. And that goes leaps and bounds, I think.
Hmm. All right, so now we're going to talk about mindset growth and handling the job market challenges. And I want to talk here about finding people because one thing that if you want to have a great company, you've got to build a company that people want to come to work for. And it can't just be we pay more because you know what? Somewhere down the road, somebody else is going to pay more than you. So what I look at here is how do you hire people to train them to be the kind of plumber, to be the kind of leader, the kind of foreman that you need? Because I mean, I've hired service managers that just flat out sucked. And then when they left, they'd try to take the people with them and say, well, y'all really worked for me. But it's like they'd leave with them, then they'd end up quitting and realize, wait, he didn't make this company good. Roger did. So you've got to literally work on building relationships with every employee that you had. And we talk about brand a lot, Randy. I remember walking down the corridors and you'd pass Mark or Barry, and this is back when they were in the old office, back where Beard is now. And I mean, they knew every employee's name. Well, they're big enough now that they can't do that. But you want to make sure that they've got the right people in place that deal with these people every day. But you always want to look at what you're doing to handle that shortage. And if you're running a residential service company, my recommendation, if you don't have it set up right now, raise your price $25 an hour just so you can put an apprentice on every single truck and start building the plumbing of your futures. So, Randy, what are your thoughts on this and the right way to do it?
Man, I think, building a good community at your workplace. Like you brought up Brant. I can remember one of the huge things that like stood out in my mind at working for Brant is most people you ask, how long have you been working for this company? 2 years, 5 years, 8 years. They don't do that at Brant. You usually hear, oh, I've been here 5 years, 4.5 months. I've
Yeah.
been here 8 years and 3 months. You always hear the months, and it's to show because people were like, they're so appreciative to be able to be there for that amount of time. They wanted to call out the months. We didn't just call out how many years we've been there because it truly, that's just the trend. That's what everybody would do. And in that, we all knew that's because of what we put into this place. It shows we appreciate this extra 4 months that we've got over that 12 years, whatever. And just small things like that are actually huge at your company because everybody coming in, we're noticing that too. And that's how it had first gotten shown to me was somebody new had come in from somewhere else and they're like, everybody I talk to, they tell you exactly how many years and months they've been here. I've never been anywhere that does that. And it was like, man, I guess I've never thought about it, but yeah, I do say the months every time. And I don't think I've ever done that before anywhere else that I've worked. So some small things like that are huge and creating that environment that people want to come in. They want to be able to say, oh, I've been here for a year and 3 months, not just, oh, I've been here for a year. And creating that and showing them, it's huge. It makes them feel like they're actually a big part of something.
So Randy, when we're struggling to get people like we are today, because there's a shortage in tradespeople, and we know that, how do you cultivate resilience to help really keep people around?
I'd say you're probably going to create some support networks. We talk a lot about set groups, things like that, to where you're actually just bouncing information off of each other. But having that support network for whenever you are struggling with something and having the group of guys to ask, hey, what do y'all think? How should I go about this? We've talked about it before with business owners. If you're just starting your own and you're just a one man shop, try to find some more one man shops to talk to and bounce ideas off of and discuss things because having that support network is going to be huge. And then you really want to adjust and create trainings for anything new and any new advancements in your trades. Keep that in front of the guys, and it's going to create that community where they want to be there because they know that they're ahead of everything. You as a company are trying to keep all the information at in front of them so that they know it. They know every new tool that's coming out and how it's going to be better for them or when they don't want to switch tools. Just stay
Yeah,
on that front edge.
I think that's great. And I've got to tell you, one of the favorite companies I was ever at, and actually I was part owner, but we invested about $10,000 training in each and every employee every year. And you had training, you had stuff that you had to do. And to me, that is huge because it keeps people around. But let's jump over into all trades and diversifying skills because to me, that is part of the training that can really help with the mindset growth. If you're training your people, and we're talking all trades here, it does not matter what trade you're in. If you're a plumber and you can learn HVAC, or you're an electrician and you can learn plumbing, you can bring more value to the companies you work for. And cross training in the trades really, I mean, a lot of it kind of ties together, doesn't it, Squirt?
It does, and I want to thank Leak Pro real quick for sponsoring today's video, where we like to diversify skills. You know, Originally, whenever we first found this company, the inventor was like, man, this is for leak detection people. And it's like, it looked like plumbers can create that skill and follow the same steps a leak detection guy does. So let's spread this because we want everybody to know how to do it. And if you're a plumber or something getting up there in age, think about opening a small leak detection on the side. Do it yourself. Come out here, learn at the training facility. We'll teach you if you don't know anything about it. Whenever you leave here after 2 days, you'll know exactly how to approach a home and go find leaks in it. So check us out at leak-pro.com, or you can give me a call at 1-8888-LEAK-PRO. But I think
Oh,
cross training. Go ahead.
this is funny because now I see why Colton didn't change the banner up top. Colton, when the time changes, if you want to go ahead and change it, that'll at least let me see it. I'm out here. I'm trying to look down here at my iPad and my bright notes in this bright sun. So I completely skipped over that one. But yeah, now let's go back into the diversifying. And here's one thing too I want to say about Leak Pro is you can take a green apprentice and train him to do leak detection. We've done it. And with the skill set they have, they can literally jump in and help you make more money because these are jobs you can send them out on. So, Squirt, go ahead.
So yeah, so diversifying skills, like just so everybody out there knows, I'm a 20-year pipe fitter in the union, but before that, my whole family's plumbers. Roger's my dad, and guess what? You think I wasn't a teenager getting thrown under houses? I assure you, I was. So I learned a lot of plumbing coming through. Well, whenever I got into the union, they didn't want to give me credit because all I did is worked for family through the years. There was no ever like I actually worked for a company. It was a little different because I was young and I get that. So whenever I got through, I said, you know what? Put me through as pipe fitting. A lot of the skills in plumbing transfer perfect to pipe fitting. And being able to have the original skills stepping into a new trade was tremendously huge for me. Set me at a great advantage. I remember being a day one apprentice on the job, teaching other guys how to read a tape measure and use a bandsaw. I'd done those things for years. I grew up wanting to use tape measures and build things, though. I can remember getting my first building set. I don't know, I was 10 or 11. Real tools, real saws. And the first thing I wanted to do is build a box. Why? I don't know. I just wanted to be able to measure and actually build something that was kind of square. And that's what I went for. But I succeeded, and it just led me to more advancements. But already having those skills to step into any trade is humongous.
Here's one thing I like too about the diversification is, we were teaching our plumbers how to go in and look at HVAC systems. So if you're a plumber in a house doing a 360-degree inspection, you go up in an attic and there's a water heater there. Why not look at the HVAC unit too? Take pictures of the boilerplate on it. That way, if you talk to them and you're like, hey, look, I looked at your HVAC system. Your HVAC system's 15 years old. It might be time to think about upgrading that. Or have you had it serviced every year? What have you had done? But look at things like that. And just cross training your trades like that, especially if you're a multifaceted company where you do plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, garage doors, whatever it is that you do, things like that are huge. And to diversify your skills, it's very easy to take online courses. I mean, think about the videos that we do online. You could have an HVAC go through my whole channel, and to be honest, if he's got good HVAC experience, he could probably do a lot of the plumbing stuff that we talk about. So looking at stuff like that and figuring out how to do it right, how to do it better, it is great. But you can also go to the workshops. Randy and I went out and we've actually done videos and we've spoken at Collin College. And I'm telling you, if a good HVAC tech or electrician went through that plumbing course out there just a few hours a week, it would literally help teach you what you need to know, and it's going to make you more valuable to each and every company that you make. So, Squirt, it's good that you've been trained in plumbing and HVAC, but now you're specializing in slab leaks and leak detection.
Yep. Yeah. And, like everything, I feel like everything I've done, every job I've had kind of led to the next one and the next step up. And doing the leak detection, originally what I learned in my trade for 20 years, what did I enjoy most? I love building things with my hands. I build every piece of equipment that we sell and teaching people things, how to do new things. And that's why I do the training here at Leak Pro and teach you how to be a leak detection specialist. So it took two of the things that I love the most in everything and it combined it all into one. And that's why I enjoy Leak Pro so much today. But go learn every skill that you can. Like I used to build trophies. Build trophies, guys. It's so basic and simple. But even building trophies when I was a teenager helps feed into doing Leak Pro things today. It helped me do hangers and things like that very quickly on a job site because all a trophy is, it's a bunch of hanger rod inside with a nut holding it all together. So it's kind of the
Isn't
same
that the truth?
in the trade. So yeah.
All right, so for laws and licenses, there's changes in the plumbing certifications around the country. And, I get to talk to Lisa Hill, the executive director of the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners sometimes. I get to talk to Frank Denton sometimes. He is the chairman of the board of plumbing examiners. So getting to be with them and hang out with them and watch the live streams if I don't get to go down to office for the meet, go down to Austin for the meetings. But Randy, talk about some changes going on nationwide.
So there's some certification requirements focus on sustainability and efficiency. Like we were talking about these better fixtures for your homes and things like that. A lot of the laws and regulations are moving towards this. These are going to become requirements. I think last year there was some water heater transitions. The efficiencies had to become meet better, higher efficiencies, things like that. And staying current, checking your local area, your state, your cities, your counties, different things. You're going to want to see what they're actually requiring in that space, especially plumbing. You have to get with your AHJ, the authority having jurisdiction, and figure out what it is that they require. Because in one county, it could be a little different than another county, depending on their testing requirements and things like that.
And it normally is. It's normally different in each county. It may be different in each city because each city can adopt its own addendums. So you just need to make sure that you're looking at things like that. Now, normally when it comes to state licensure, it's on a state level. I love the way Texas is set up. The Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners is over plumbers. That's it. They're not over anybody else. Now, TDLR, it has electricians and HVAC techs and doctors and massage therapists and cosmetologists. And it's like, look, we have the plumbing board. So I love that. And I've always been proud of the fact that Texas is set up that way because I think that that keeps us focused on what we do. And we're not talking about a lot of different things. So I enjoy the heck out of it.
I do. And I like that they have the continuing education that's a requirement because that's just making sure that they are stepping into a classroom and keeping up with some of the current things. We know all of our plumbers are hearing that on a year to year basis, and that's huge. And I think that more states not knowing all the laws and regulations throughout our country should move to things like that. It was kind of a thing that we did in the union. If you wanted a raise, you had to go attend an 8 hour class at some point of the year. Anytime you wanted, it's fine. But that 8 hours that you're contributing, you were getting paid for because you're getting a raise from it. So just small things to keep learning is huge.
So, Scott, what's the best way for plumbers to stay compliant now?
I'd say regularly check in with your state licensing boards and take courses that are relevant to any new regulations. Just like I was talking about the continuing education for plumbers here, I'm sure there are many classes and things like that for every trade out there. And focus on that. Stay in the contact. You want to get in the information loops however you can, whether it's newsletters or things like that, or small communities that you're bouncing information off of as each of you find it.
Yeah, I just want to jump in the comments real quick. Hetsumomo Yagami, good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. Ariel Loza says hello from Houston. Hello to you. Good to see you in here. The Mystery Man, what's up? We are having fun. I'm somewhere out in the Atlantic Ocean, and Randy's in Wiley, Texas, and I promise you, it's a little warmer here. Dr. DeWitt Edo says, do you have experience in the concrete business? I really don't, except that I built or helped build one of the biggest water parks in the or indoor water parks in Texas, and that's pretty cool. So I got to do with that. Mr. Man says, I'm a first year apprentice and cross-trained HVAC and plumbing. I love that.
Smart.
Dr. DeWitt Edo, hello to you. And Lori McNeil says, good morning. Looks like you need sunglasses. Well, Lori, I'm out on my balcony doing a live stream. I do need sunglasses. And the reason she's laughing is she's also here on the marketing cruise.
Okay. Good deal. Hope y'all are having fun on that cruise today.
We are. Uh, let's talk about business training. And this is about upselling. And this is something that I think every residential service company needs to train their people in. Because if you're not identifying opportunities, and I mean, you think about this, every house you walk in is an opportunity. And I tell the story a lot about the doctor who's doing the rounds late one night at the hospital, and he sees one of his patients' name on the chart. So he walks in the room and he looks, and there's this patient laying there. He's got his arm in a cast, and it's supported. and his bed's elevated and all this, and he's laying there. He's got all these machines hooked up to him. And he says, "Oh my God!" He says, "What's going on?" He says, "Well, Doc," he said, "Man, when I left your office the other day, I had two heart attacks, uh, or maybe one heart attack, but I died, and I died twice. And they literally that they had to bring me back to life." And says, "Wow," says, I knew that when you were there, that when we checked your blood pressure, it was so high, we thought you might die right there." And they said, "Doc, well, why didn't you say anything about it?" He says, "Well, you were just here to get your cast on your arm." So think about this. As a plumber, we walk into people's houses, they may have a leaking garbage disposal or garbage disposal that's jammed. And if you're not doing a 360-degree inspection, and you don't walk up in the attic and you don't see that they have two water heaters up there that are 15 years old and they're 6-year warranty water heaters, and you don't warn these people and say, "Hey, look, I'm just going to let you know you've got two water heaters in your attic that really should have been replaced about 9 years ago." And when you tell people that, then you're not trying to sell it. You just say, "Look, I'm making you aware. Would you like me to go ahead and give you a price on those just in case? Because if they rupture, them being up in your attic, it's going to cause so much problems in your house." And learning to talk about things like that is huge. And I mean, think about it. If you do it the way that I did it, I'm not being pushy. I am literally just saying, "Hey, uh, here's the problem you've got. And I'm not sure if you're aware of it. And I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I'm trying to make you aware of the fact. And since I am here, would you like for me to go ahead and give you pricing for it?" And if they say yes, absolutely. Now you present them with pricing just like you would on anything else. "Okay, I want to go ahead and talk to you about the two water heaters. So for two water heaters, it's $5,000, or we can upgrade you to a tankless, and that's going to run you about $10,000. But the good thing about it is, with good credit, it's not going to cost you anything today." And we're like, "Well, what do you mean it won't cost me anything?" Well, we have financing set up where literally today, all you do is make a decision, decide to do it. We pull up the number, we run your credit report, and you make your first payment in 30, 60, or 90 days. But learning how to do that is huge. You've got to be able to educate your clients and make them aware of any upgrades that could be done for their systems. And the way that I love talking about it is, we can come in here and fix this thing today, and your house is going to work like I just put a band-aid on it. You're not going to have any problem with this. Or we can go through and completely redo everything, upgrade everything based on like it was back when your house was built. That way, everything is either rebuilt or replaced where it works like new the day you bought this house 24 years ago. Or we can go in and we can upgrade your system and make it where it's new, like if you bought this house today. Again, we go back to the smart products. We can have a smart water heater, a smart HVAC system, smart appliances like a refrigerator, washer, dryer, dishwasher. There's so many opportunities to talk to people about what's available. And this is what you need to be training your technicians to do. And if you're not, you're really losing out, because to me, that is one of the smartest things that we can do is help people. When I tell people I'm a plumber, I don't just tell them, "Hey, I'm a plumber." I tell people I'm in the business of helping you protect the most valuable possession you've ever had in your life. What just so happens to be, that's your home. But if I'm helping you protect your home and take care of it, don't you think that it would be smart for me to have a good recommendation for an electrician, an HVAC tech, and people like that? So these are something that I think everybody should be doing, and you need to teach your employees to learn on focus on educating the clients. But in order for them to do that, you've got to educate them. So, Randy, that's my take on that.
I like that. And then something just kind of peaked in my brain when you were talking about that. An upsell that's easy is, let's say that person that had the two water heaters that are 15-year-old, they were out of town, they ruptured, they came home to the disaster. When they go to get that fixed, as the plumber, yeah, you're here to fix this problem. But then also think just for a moment on a smart valve. Would you be interested in adding this so you never have this exact issue again? You'll be able to shut it off because something's going to trigger. Things like that. Showing them options, because I'm a guy about options. I love to hear the different options. It's not an upsell, it's just going, hey, here's something that I can offer to prevent this from happening again or being to this much of a disaster, and actually helping the situation. If you tell me some of those options, guess what? Oh, yeah, give me that because I don't want to deal with this again. I just felt it. And being able to realize that for the customer, you're offering help. Yes, it is an upsell, and I understand it's more money, but that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to help them prevent that issue again. So don't feel the wrong way about it, but try to
Yeah,
work on with them on their level.
no, I think that's great. And Chris Danuska says sales, and you're right, it is sales. But you know what? We're in the business of selling plumbing, and I love it when I get a technician that says, "Look, I don't do sales. I don't want you to do sales. I want you to give people options. I want you to take the time to educate them, teach them, make them aware of it, and give them options. And if you do that, guess what? That turns into sales." Alex
Yeah,
says
I
he
don't.
100% agrees, and good point.
I was going to say it's. I don't want you to sell it. I just want you to hand them the menu. Show them a menu
Yeah.
of options and let them pick. That's all. Yeah, I like that.
All right, Randy, let's talk about vehicles real quick.
Vehicle, yes. Choosing the right van for plumbing services. Yeah, we like to talk vehicles around here. We obviously like to talk plumbing with the expert plumber. But making that right choice in your vehicles, if you're a small shop or becoming a bigger shop, you want to think about the storage needs. What kind of tools are you going to carry around? Are you offering a bunch of specialties, just a few? What all is this van going to have to hold? You want to check weight requirements, things like that. But you also want to think about fuel efficiency, long term use of this. How's the maintenance going to be? Should I go EV? Should I go fuel? Should I go old? Should I go new? Should I lease it? There's so many options, but you want to go through each option and figure out the right things for you in your situation for your business because everybody's in a different place and we understand that. But if you actually break it down, thinking about the right things, I think that's going to get a long way. What were some of y'all's kind of requirements whenever you started? I know you kind of started out knowing some old vans and getting those to start, but what made you want to do that transition into the next step?
What, Randy, with me is the vehicles got older, the wear and tear on them was obvious. We still were able to turn around and sell them for exactly what we paid for. So we got our money back out of them after using them for about 4 or 5 years. So what I realized is that I like the idea of leasing vehicles. We got newer vehicles, we got bigger vehicles, and literally we could have them wrapped, could have the shelving already in them. We could do whatever we wanted to do. So to me, finding the right leasing company and working with them and getting them set up the way we wanted to do, that made all the difference in the world in the way my plumbers saw themselves. Because now they're not riding around an old ragged van that was, God, 10, 15 years old, that had been ridden by plumbers for 10 or 15 years. They were literally in a brand new vehicle. And every 4 years, we had the opportunity to upgrade them and do better. Guys, it takes money to make money. So you've got to be able to lease a vehicle or buy a vehicle. And I think that we literally got the big sprinters, the extra tall, extra long sprinters. And I believe that we did diesel, but we were able to do that for about 600 a month per van. I mean, that should be what you make
Nice.
on one service call. So that's really not a bad way to do it. All right, let's talk social media. And I know we're talking plumbing, and I love that topic, just in case y'all didn't know. Uh, those of y'all that don't know, I do have another channel called Roger Wakefield Plumbing Education. So, Randy, let's talk a little bit about the Plumbing King.
Plumbing King. So he did a recent video uh, transforming a rusty old plumbing setup into a functional system. And just that title there kind of resonates with me. I used to like that old rusty look, but then if you look at some of the transformation videos lately, it's this old to this new sleek modern. Some of these videos are beautiful to watch that transition happen. And like I tell a lot of people, that's some of the pride that we do in our work, that we get in our trade, that a lot of people don't understand. But these transformation videos truly kind of give you that visual look of what we feel on the inside, is what I feel like. But this video showcases plumbing fixes that viewers can implement, emphasizing the importance of regular maintenance and repairs, which we know is huge for plumbing all across the board and any other trades, because you want to maintain your home. Your home is one of the biggest investments that you're going to make. Take care of it. Do the proper maintenance steps that you need. And keeping up with YouTubers, influencers, things like this that are trying to teach those things is huge.
All right, we they're making an announcement. Let's go ahead and mute me. But Randy, what can tradespeople learn from the way he approaches his content creation?
So, really engaging in the storytelling and practical demonstrations, this is going to be really huge. One of the main things that viewers like to see and tie to is stories. We're all human beings. As trades folk, we love standing around talking stories because we learned something from this one time. And guess what? That thing that you learned is going to pass on to the person listening to this story. If you've got a good story, tell it. That's what people want to hear, if especially when there's things to learn from the stories. But then doing some practical demonstrations showing exact examples, how-to guides, things like that, or the educational angle if you want to study into the deeps and depths of every material part and piece that you're putting and using, and you want to test the limits of it or things like that, you can do that, because a lot of us tradespeople, we do want to know the limits of some of the things that are out there. And I think these can be tremendous things for you.
All right, they're still talking on here. I'm going to try to jump in. Uh, Look, we love telling stories, and as tradespeople, it's not just that; it's how prideful we are of what we do and how we do it. And I want you to think about that. If you're in the trades, if you've ever driven down the road, I know every time I drive into Dallas, I don't care if it's Randy with me or if I'm out on a date or whatever it is literally like, I built that building. I built that building. I built that building. I mean, I've been married before, and I drive into downtown and say, I built that building. Like, yeah, I know. And it's like, what? You like this, act like there's no big deal. It's like, no, you tell me every time we drive into Dallas. So this is one of the most prideful trades in the world. And it's just plumbing, electrical, and HVAC, I think are big ones. Roofing is another big one. Carpentry, stuff like that, where you can look at a building and say, look, I built this building. And I know I didn't build it. I know I didn't build the whole thing.
Yeah.
I know I didn't do it all by myself, but I will look at somebody straight on and say, "Oh yeah, I built that building." So it is, and I love that because we've always got stories too. We've got stories about the jobs that we've done, the buildings we've built, the people we've worked with, the customers that we've helped. So always look at it and say, "Look, how can I do this better?" And talk about whatever it is you're trying to point out and what point you're trying to make and tell a story about it, and then tie that story back to your point. And when you do stuff like that, it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, that's a great way to make a connection with somebody for sure.
So let's jump into some questions. I'm gonna try to jump out about 1 minute early too, so I'll say goodbye. As we're done here with the questions, I'll let you close up with Leak Pro.
Okay.
But let's jump into some questions. And I know we did it kind of different yesterday because there were a couple of really good questions in the deal yesterday. I think we've got some more today, but let's jump into these that you had.
So, what's the most effective strategy for retaining clients in plumbing?
I think having a good CRM where you can continuously follow them up and communicate with them. And we use Go High Level. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to gohighlevel.com/Roger Wakefield. And Colton just put the link into it right there, scrolling on the bottom. But guys, this makes it easy. I mean, this makes it where literally you can set up a weekly newsletter. And it's funny, we've got another product that we use that I'm playing with. And I think it works really well. But what I want to do with it is literally start doing just a weekly newsletter where it's a 5 minute video. And I mean, think about it. There's not a company owner here that couldn't sit down, shoot one 5 minute video with his phone saying, hey, this is what we did this week. This is how we did it. And this is how we helped people. And really, that can be your newsletter right there. You could transcribe it if you want to and then embed the video, or you just send it out like that and say, hey, guys, look, just going to share a little information with you as to what we're doing this week. But I do think having a great CRM like Go High Level, and to be honest, guys, you can sign up for $97 a month, but having something like that where you can communicate with people quicker, better, and more regularly, I think that's amazing. So let me ask you this, Randy. How can people keep their skills fresh in such a competitive market?
Man, attend workshops. That's what we constantly do with our YouTube world and marketing and things like that. That's why Roger's on a marketing cruise now. Keep yourself involved. Something that you like to say all the time is spend 30 minutes a day learning a little more about your trade. Whether that's videos, that's research, that's reading a book, listening to an audio book, listening to a podcast, or a live talk. Whatever it is, learn everything that you possibly can. The more that you put into yourself and your knowledge bank, the better of a person and work that you're going to be able to put out and feed out.
Mhm. All
Uh,
right, go ahead.
I was going to say, back to plumbing, what's the best approach for eco friendly plumbing nowadays?
Well, I think the best approach is to learn all you can about it because you need to be able to teach your clients about it. And I'm telling you guys, in order to become one of the top voices in my industry, I got up and studied this industry and studied it in depth. I've got every endorsement in Texas. I've got my master's license, and I'm a lead AP. I'm a Green Plumber USA. I wanted to understand water efficiency better than anybody else, and that led me to, well, if 9 out of 10 homes have leaks in them, I want to be the guy that knows how to find them. So that led me to studying leak detection equipment and getting really good at it. So to me, that is one of the most important things anybody can do is learn their industry. If you want to learn ecosystems and be the people in your town that sells more eco-friendly products than anybody else, learn more about it than anybody else. It really does make that big of a difference. The more you learn, the more you can talk about it, the more comfortable you are talking about it. And then you set up your websites, your marketing pages to where you're talking about it. Now people know you do it. Now, when you're the one that they reach out to ask questions, you don't have to tell them, look, I don't know what makes the toilet better. I don't know how the toilet works. You're able to communicate with them and tell them all about it. So I do. I love that. And I think that's really what's helped me get to where I'm at in the plumbing industry is studying and learning all the different things that I learned to get where I'm at. And it's not that I learn it because I want to know everything. It's that I learn it because now there's less that I don't know anything about and I can talk to people about it. So that's always been big to me. So Squirt, I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here. I know it's time for you to talk about Leak Pro since they are our sponsor and we love it and love everything about it. So I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you all for being here. I will be back in the office next Monday. I may be regretting it and bitching about it and complaining about it, but I will be there. So thank y'all so much for being here. Love y'all. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. That way you don't miss out on anything. And if you know anybody in the trades you think this could help, please share this video with them. So Squirt, thank you. I'll send you a message about picking me up Sunday night, and I will see y'all next week.
Thank you. You have a good one. Yes, we do want to thank Leak Pro today for sponsoring today's episode. That way we can bring this to you every day. It lets us do this and bring more to the trades. Leak Pro is a manufacturer of the best leak detection that we feel for plumbers. You can check us out at www.leak-pro.com, or you can give me a call at 1-8888-LEAK-PRO. Check us out. We build the equipment. We do an in-person training here just in Wiley, Texas. And you can come out, learn in 2 days exactly what you need to do and how to go in and pinpoint leaks. But I want to thank you for showing up, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.